Welcome to another episode of Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Mike Diabates, Steve Bells, Jerry, Derek Havens here as your host, as always. So thankful you guys are listening, whether it's downloaded on Apple or Spotify. Please do like, share, leave us a review. Keep us high in those podcast rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. If you're on our YouTube channel for Patriots.com, please go ahead and subscribe. We would appreciate that. Before we do anything, as always, Steve, what's going on, buddy?
You said Patriots.com. It's PatsFans.com.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We haven't signed a deal with them.
No, we're working on it.
Yeah. I'm doing great, man. It's a wonderful day to be able to talk some football, and training camp is right around the corner, and like everyone else, we can't wait.
I was just talking to my buddy Jake Andrews, who was on the Patriots, now on the Texans, and they're starting training camp on the same day, the 23rd. So we are recording this July 16th, and it's about 11:25 Eastern. Mike, how you doing today, bud?
Doing well, gentlemen. We are a week away from watching the New England Patriots on the practice fields adjacent to Gillette Stadium. Football's back. You can feel it. There's a lot of excitement right now with this team, and as always, some uncertainty with any team heading into the season, but there's an optimism among Patriots fans that I haven't seen in the last few seasons here in New England. A lot of people believe in this team, believe in their potential, and I'm excited to watch what these guys look like, to see the potential, but not only that, but also to kind of gain an insight as to what this team may look like in the future and watch how Mike Vrabel is going to build this club. Great time of year, always the best time of year if you're a football fan.
Mike, just kind of piggybacking off of what you just said, there's a lot of excitement around this team. So this is not where I was planning on starting, but we're going to do it anyways. Why do you feel like there's so much excitement around this team right now?
I think there's an aura that's coming along with Mike Vrabel, first and foremost. I think his ascension to the head coach's position is instilling a confidence that maybe Patriots fans didn't have last year heading into the season. That is in no way a personal attack on Gerard Mayo, who I think brought a lot of excitement, a lot of positivity in his own right. But Vrabel is an established head coach in this league. He's been to the puppet show. He's seen the strings, according to the great Rod Tidwell. So his job now is to take that aura and translate it onto the field. And I think Patriots fans are seeing they got the perfect guy for the job. He's going to get in there. He's going to put the yellow penny on. He's going to take the hits. He's going to give the hits out. And he's going to make sure that he's competing with his teammates, or I shouldn't say teammates, but he's going to be competing with his team on the field to make sure that each and every one of the teammates around this head coach are working and forming a cohesive unit. In addition, I think a lot of Patriots fans are expecting to see a sophomore ascension this year from Drake May. They're hearing a lot of great things about how good a shape he's in, what he's able to do, the lessons he can learn from Josh McDaniels. McDaniels coming in, kind of revamping this offense. Again, I think a lot of the excitement comes from up top, but there's also excitement for the players. I think guys like Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson are bringing a tremendous amount of athleticism, speed, and excitement to this offense. Someone like a Stephon Diggs is coming in, bringing a swagger we haven't seen to New England in quite some time. And then you look at the defense, the return of Christian Barmore, the ascension once again, to use that term one more time. I promise not to overuse it, folks. And that is with Christian Gonzalez really making that third-year leap and becoming the cornerback we all believe he will be. And then guys like Milton Williams and Keon White. There's so much right now to look at. Is it going to mean immediate success and an immediate playoff spot? I think the jury's still out on that. I'd probably lean toward probably not in the first year. But at the same time, if they can keep these core Patriots together for a few years, I think you're looking at some bright days ahead in Foxborough. To me, that's where the positivity is coming from.
Steve, to you, same question. I mean, obviously, a lot of excitement for this Patriots team. I feel like they've gotten some national love. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I feel like they've gotten some national love about a team that's really to take a step forward. I'm not saying they're going to be contenders or they're probably borderline playoff team, but I guess a lot of that hinges on Drake May. But for you, Steve, like, what do you feel like, kind of is encapsulating this kind of energy for the Patriots right now?
Well, I think as Mike said, it starts with Mike Vrabel. You know, he brings so much positive energy, and he's a very experienced. He has 6 years head coaching experience. So, and he's been around. He's worked with different teams. He's worked in the college level, and the staff that he has assembled. Because not only is it Mike Vrabel, I think it's Josh McDaniels as well, and they have 4 coaches with head coaching experience. So I mean, that in itself is light years ahead of where Gerard Mayo's staff was. And as Mike said, I'm not here to crucify Gerard Mayo, but he didn't
Yeah.
have any experience as a head coach or as a coordinator, and neither did his other coordinators. So they were all kind of learning on the job. Now you look at this staff with Josh McDaniels, he's got 6 rings. Uh, you don't think he knows how to coach an offense up? Look at all the different styles of offense the Patriots went through when he was here. Terrell Williams, although he's never been a coordinator, he's worked with Mike Vrabel, and he has Vrabel, at his shoulder. So
Yep.
if there's anything that comes up defensively, Vrabel will be right there, and Doug Marrone. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think that's where everything starts to come together. You have these coaches that they have a lot of experience, and there's a lot of optimism with the ability to pull this team together. And I think the other part of the equation is I thought they did a much, much better job of trying to put, players that can elevate this team this year. And not only in free agency, Mike mentioned Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, Stephon Diggs. I mean, these were the kinds of names they weren't, able to attract a year ago. Plus, I thought they did a really good, solid job in the draft. So, when you combine all this together, you're looking at this team, especially defensively. They look like defensively, I think this team's going to be a wagon this year.
I do want to dive into the depth chart, and we're going to go through position by position. So, but I'm going to throw a curveball at both you guys, which you're both accustomed to at this point. So I'll throw that to you in a second. Steve, I totally agree. I think that it's hard because it's one of those things where you are literally watching this team try to rebuild and try to get from like the ground level up. And just because we've said this 100 times, I know, Mike, you've been here for, we've been doing the show now for what, a couple months now. Steve and I've been doing this for 15 years. Like you're really building it, everything from the ground level, right? So yes, just because Josh isn't necessarily a great head coach doesn't mean he's not a great coordinator. There are some guys that can be both. Like Doug Marrone is widely by the NFL view, a huge influence on offensive linemen and how they play. But that doesn't mean he's a great head coach. That's okay. So there are different things, and I think you have the right people in place now. And Steve, to your point, I mean, I don't think that Gerard was ready for the step he was ready to take. It was kind of I think it happened faster than they wanted it to, and it just kind of, played out the way it played out. But now I'm really curious to see how all the guys go ahead and take a step up. And I agree with you with the draft, like, in terms of building and kind of building features like that. Let me ask you this though, guys. If you were going to go ahead and guess, and I'll go to you, Mike, first. If you were going to go ahead and guess where Mike Vrabel comes from, we know he came from the Titans, won a lot of tight games. I think it's a testament to how he builds his team that they were so tough in the fourth quarter. That's kind of what he prides himself on. but he also wanted to run the ball more. What do you think his philosophy is going to be with Drake May now that he has a quarterback that obviously he's not proven, but someone who can maybe prove himself in the future moving forward? Do you think he'll be more willing to be like a throw first guy, or do you think he's still going to want to be ground and pound?
I think there's an element of ground and pound in Mike Vrabel that'll never die. I think that'll always be there. I think that's always going to be his instinct. But I do think that he's going to be much more willing to air the ball out for two reasons. One, the prowess of Drake May. This kid has a tremendous arm. It is extremely impressive. We've all seen it in person. We've all seen it on television. We know what this kid can do. And especially when you start seeing what he can do with potential weapons like Kyle Williams, like Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, who I expect to take a step forward this year and emerge as another potential target. There is a lot of opportunity for the New England Patriots to show their prowess in throwing the football this year. But if you're looking for my reason why he's going to be much more willing to throw the ball, I think it begins and ends with Josh McDaniels. McDaniels' offense is centered around a strong running game that complements the passing game, frees things up to make the passing game your bread and butter. I do believe that McDaniels is going to be able to get the maximum value out of Drake May, whether it's early on this season, whether it's middle part of the season, or into the end part of the season. I think you're going to start to see Drake May adapt to that McDaniel style. And once he gets it, and once all those cylinders start to click, you're going to see how good this kid really is. And then at that point, it's going to be undeniable. You're going to want to air the football out and show the world essentially what my passing game can look like. I'm speaking as Mike Vrabel here, folks. I want to show this NFL universe, especially here in the NFC, especially here in the AFC, what this passing game can look like and what my team can look like offensively with Drake May as its quarterback. So, yeah, I think there's always going to be an element of ground and pound. You've got Ramondre Stevenson there to be able to pound the rock. You've got Travion Henderson, who I think could be one of the most exciting offensive rookies in the conference this year. That excites me. However, I will say this. I think McDaniel's presence is going to mandate the Patriots air it out a little bit more, and I think Vrabel will be happy to oblige when he sees what he's got there.
100%. I do think to use one of your words that you just used, click. I do think it's going to happen like week 6 or 7, and you're going to really see Drake May turn a corner. I'm really excited about that. Steve, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that look, Vrabel's philosophy was ground and pound because, I mean, he had Derrick Henry.
I mean, he's a pretty good player. I mean, not bad.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to run the ball with Derrick Henry? I mean, why not? I mean, I would love to see him in a Patriots uniform.
Sure.
So you play to your strengths, right? And Derrick Henry is still a strength in the NFL. You saw the year he had last year. And he didn't really have a quarterback per se, in Tennessee. Well, I think things are going to change. And again, like you mentioned, Mike, Josh McDaniels. But the other thing, if you become a little bit more pass first, you also have the ability for Drake May to run the football. And, he ran quite a bit last year, but that was more out of broken plays than it was designed runs. But I think you're going to incorporate that a little bit more simply because of the fact that that will keep the defense honest. And in regards to Travion Henderson, I think they have, the home run capability, which they really haven't, had.
I think he's going to have a friggin' phenomenal year.
I
Steve,
think so
too. The man crush I have on Travion Henderson. I mean, I really think he's going to be an absolute just hitter this year for the Patriots.
Yeah,
So.
and in the passing game, I mean, you get him, isolated maybe on a linebacker. He catches the ball. He has the ability to go all the way. So, these are all factors that, we'll have to find out as a team what they do good and what they need to work on. And I think that's going to, change from week to week, which that was a hallmark of McDaniels, right?
Right,
The
right.
Patriots would
And the same thing, Steve, is Josh comes from Bill Belichick's tree. So what's the first rule for a running back if you're going to get on the field?
protect.
Gotta protect the passer. Like you got to go ahead and be able to do little pass blocking. You know, everyone raved about Travion doing that. Soft hands, explosiveness. I mean, he is tailor made for this offense, and I think they're going to have just a ridiculous year. But that's just me. That's just my bias. So it is what it is. I want to thank everyone who's listening to live again. Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Please do like, share, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Keeps us high in those podcast rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. Guys, let's jump into the depth chart here. I want to move us along. We kind of had an open discussion at the beginning, but we wanted to kind of, a week away from training camp, which is exciting. We have to talk about everything. So we have the quarterback position. I think is it safe to say, I don't want to speak for you guys, but is it safe to say that both Drake May and Josh Jobs are on the roster, correct?
Yeah. Neither one are going anywhere.
Right. You've Ben Wooldridge. All right, so you have him there. I think he'll be a practice squad quarterback, your kind of third emergency quarterback. So the quarterback is pretty simple. So we'll go to the running back. Mike, if we go to the running back position, what are your thoughts on the running back depth chart as a whole?
Ooh, good question. I did a roster projection earlier. There will be another one coming shortly on Sports Illustrated, so keep a sharp eye out for that, folks. I'll be doing that within the coming days here as we begin our training camp coverage. Cheap pop there. But all kidding aside, I mean, you have a solid 1-2 punch at the top of the heap. There's no question about it. Stevenson and Henderson, in my opinion, are going to be a formidable 1-2. But beyond that, Antonio Gibson right now has played well from what we've seen from him in OTAs and in minicamp.
He really had some momentum too, Mike. Like towards the end of the season, like he really was doing a lot of great things.
Oh yeah, without any question. And look, Antonio again is a guy that fits well into what Josh McDaniels likes. You mentioned someone that can get in there and protect and be a blocker. He can do that. He's definitely a weapon on third down and someone that can receive out of the backfield. Did that very well last year. I happen to think he was one of the few bright spots in the Patriots offense last year. I thought Gibson had a pretty good season considering everything that the Patriots went through. So I have Gibson making this roster. The question is, how much deeper do you go if you're the New England Patriots? Do you go a couple more running backs and roster 5? Do you go with 4? Do you consider Brock Lambie a fullback and kind of lump him in with the running backs, or do you consider him more of a tight end as a blocker?
Let me pause you. Let me pause you on this because McDaniels traditionally has 4 running backs. Like when he's in control of the offense, it's 4 running backs. So right now we have 3. So you have Lampy, who you could kind of say halfback, fullback, tight end, H-back kind of type. Like, does he make it? Or do you go with someone like Terrell Jennings?
That's a possibility. And look, Jennings is someone who is capable of being a running back and a solid complementary running back on this crew. Steve, I think it was one of you guys that mentioned Lan Larison. I mean, that to me is a very intriguing option. I went with Lan in my 53-man roster projection because of the bidding war that existed for his services out there. Do you take that into account and say, if you want to try to stash him on the practice squad, is he someone that's going to make the practice squad? Does he make it to that point? So for me, I think the Patriots right now, their running backs are extremely intriguing. I'm really looking forward to seeing the big 3 because I think that's where the productivity is going to come from. But ultimately, the most intriguing part of this is who makes it on as the last 1 or 2 running backs that round out this core. To me, that's the battle to watch all throughout training camp.
Steve, I'm coming to you right after this. I'm just honestly curious. If you had to pick, Mike, between Ethan Chisholm or Lan Larison, which one's making the roster? You got to pick one. I know everybody loves them, so you got to pick one.
I mean, recency bias is going to tell you that Efton Chisholm would win this battle. And I think out of what we've seen on the field, Chisholm has been the more exciting of the two players. But Larison comes in with a versatility and a resume that is so difficult to ignore. I'm going to go with Chisholm right now because I just love the way he fits in a McDaniel's offense and the type of prowess he can give you from the slot, and the fact that this kid does not give up after the catch and will keep reaching and reaching until there is nothing left. I like that in a pilot. I like that in a wide receiver. I'd like to see him get the nod, but that's not to say that I don't want to see Larison on this team, because I think he deserves it every bit. Efton Chisholm by the slightest of margins right now.
But what if I was to push back on you and say that I would say that Larison has a better chance of being the fourth running back than Chisholm does in a crowded wide receiver room. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
like, if we look at the wide receiver position, which we're going to get to, and I want to talk to Steve about this in a second, but, like, if we're looking at this, doesn't it make more sense for Land to maybe get that fourth running back spot? Because there's more you can easily see a spot for him there versus adding a seventh wide receiver to that room.
Absolutely. Conventional wisdom would tell you that, yes, there is an easier road for Land Larison to make this team as the fourth running back than Efton Chisholm as a sixth or even a seventh wide receiver. The question is how much depth along that chart is still going to be remaining? Are the Patriots going to look to maybe move someone like a Kendrick Bourne that we've discussed here on these airwaves several times?
I feel like
If Kendrick goes on the trading block, all of a sudden things get shuffled in that receivers room. Yeah, you may see Efton get a little bit more of a nod. So there's a lot of pieces moving right now that need to be fit into place, or at least targeted for fit into place, before that question needs to be answered. But Derek, right now, you're absolutely right. The pathway is a little more clear for Larison to make it than it is for Chisholm.
I'm just looking for a path. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking for path for guys to make the team, and I see Larison, even though it sounds kind of crazy, I could see him being like a special teamer. McDaniels keeps four running backs a lot. I'm seeing the four running backs, and the receiver room is just packed. Steve, if I go to you, I don't know how you feel about this, but unless I'm assuming in this scenario, Diggs is not going to be on PUP. Okay, so Diggs is going to make the team. So then we have Pop, Kyle Williams, Kyle Williams, Duggar, or not Duggar,
Diggs
and
Hollins.
And Hollins, right? So you're probably getting another two more. I can't see a scenario where they have less than six receivers. So what do you think the receiver room is going to look like? I'm really curious about that.
Well, going back to what you guys were just talking about as well, say, for instance, they only keep four running backs. You could make room for Larison, and I'll quote Eddie Murphy from Trading Places, because we love to quote movies here. What if you kept Lampy as a tight end?
Well, now, I really do feel that Lampy's going to make the roster. I'm not sure if I'm on my own horse on this, but I don't see Henry or Hooper going anywhere. I see Lampy kind of floating, I'll count him as a tight end for now, but that's what I see him as being.
Well, they carried for years. They carried Matthew Slater as a wide receiver.
Correct.
And we know he wasn't a wide receiver. I mean,
correct.
So yeah, I think there's creative ways to get around, these type of things. But going to the wide receivers again, I mean, everything is wide open right now, because
I think Javon Baker is going to be on the practice field or the practice squad, or he's going to be on a different roster. I don't see him making the team. And honestly, Steve, as you go through it, I also want to get your opinion on. I feel like Kayshon Boutte and Drake May had a really good connection last year, but I feel like him and Javon Polk are almost going to be competing for a roster spot.
Well, and and again, Bourne, the rumors, bouncing all around of who they're going to keep. I think it all depends on who steps up next week. right? I mean, it's going to come down to that. And I think even these unpadded practices at the beginning of training camp are going to be extremely important. You know, yeah, there's still going to be some element of teaching in there where they're installing the play, but I think every rep for these wide receivers is going to be really evaluated because they have so many bodies in there. And I think, like everything we've read, Chisholm is going to be right there. Now, we'll all see how this plays out, especially once the pads come on. Is he still able to get open? Is he catching the football? Is he doing things every rep out there? And a big thing with Josh McDaniels is, yeah, he's not the biggest guy, but is he willing to go downfield and block, when the play isn't to him per se? These are all things that are going to, play into a factor. But I don't think, other than the guys that we mentioned, Diggs, Hollins, Douglas, Kyle Williams, I mean, those guys are locked. We know that simply because of the money they paid them this spring, as well as, their draft position.
This is super random. This is super random, but like I've seen a couple of reports being like Hollins is injured. He was just working out in Australia, lifting over 180 pounds over his head. So I don't know how injured he really is. So I'm kind of confused by that whole situation. But that's kind of a different topic for a different show. But
we'll know next week.
Yeah, we'll find out. I mean,
guys, he might have had some issue with the leg or whatnot.
Yeah,
which is why he didn't participate this spring.
Correct.
But we'll see. But I think when it comes to the wide receivers, it's going to be a minimum of 6. And I can't
see less than 6, Steve.
7.
I can't see less than 6.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's going to be 3 or 4 running backs. Maybe you include Lampy in that. Maybe you include him in the tight ends. I'm not sure. You got the whole receiver position we just talked about. Mike, if we switch over to offensive line, man, a lot of questions there. Obviously, you got Will Campbell at left tackle. Okay. You got Bradbury potentially at center. You got Micah Wenyu at right guard. You got Morgan Moses at right tackle. Left guard, big question mark. I would say that Jared Wilson is kind of a wild card right now. Some people look at him as a center. Maybe he could replace Bradbury potentially. Maybe he plays left guard. You got Cole Strange. You got Sidney So. You got Antonio Mafi. You got a lot of question marks at left guard. How do you look at the offensive line right now? Because to me, this is the biggest question mark on the team. If you tell me that we're getting decent offensive line play this year, I could see Drake May elevating. If he's scrambling for his life again, I'm worried it's going to force him to continue bad habits. So that to me is a big concern. What are your take on the whole offensive line situation?
Yeah, the line is definitely the ultimate question for the New England Patriots right now. And, look, there's a lot of different options and a lot of different ways that you can go. In my previous 53-man roster prediction, maybe you can make the argument I went a little too heavy on youth as opposed to experience. Someone like a Marcus Bryant, I think, brings such a wealth of opportunity that you're almost looking at him and saying you don't want to risk losing him to the practice squad. You want to put him on this roster. You want to put him on the 53. There's also an argument right now to be made for Vidarian Lowe. I mean, let's face it. If Vidarian is not being asked to be the primary option at left tackle, he's a solid option as a reserve, as a swing, someone that does have the experience and, the ability to play the position when needed. And if he's got starting experience, you want to have guys like that on the roster. So in terms of tackle right now, I think you're looking at him. Trey Jacobs last year, I don't see cracking this roster at all. I've seen some 53-man predictions with him kind of coming out of the woodwork. I just don't believe that that's an option for the Patriots. Trey was put in an untenable position last year, but he didn't rise to the occasion when he needed to, and I think that ends. To me, left guard right now is the biggest question mark. Do you go with Cole Strange as the starter? All signs seem to be pointing yes in that direction. Layden Robinson, I think, is someone that can give you an opportunity to make these things different. But again, I keep coming back to, and I do keep getting dinged for this, and I understand why, folks, but keep a sharp eye on City So this offseason, this training camp coming up, because Josh McDaniels' system right now is still predicated on being gap oriented. I know he's going to try to incorporate more outside. He wants to get more modern. I fully expect that. But the athletic, more fluid linemen that support that zone concept has not always been his bread and butter. I think Doug Marrone will help to balance that out. But if Josh is calling the shots the way we all expect him to, he may be looking for a bigger body, someone that is a more strong, a more anchored, guard in that respect. Take a look back to City's rookie season. An 80.8 PFF gap scheme run blocking grade. That was the third best among all qualified guards during his rookie season. The kid can play. If he's called upon to play this position, don't be a bit surprised to see City So come out and have a pretty good training camp.
Yeah, Layden Robinson is a name you mentioned, but I didn't mention before, and honestly, I'm kind of curious. I mean, I really do think it's a friggin' smorgasbord at the left guard position right now. It's literally who just steps up. It's going to be fascinating to see how that whole thing works out, and I think there are a lot of factors to consider, Steve. And I'll ask you the same thing. I mean, I think in a perfect world, you would want a veteran to be next to your rookie left tackle, right? And you have a center in the first time. I know he's a veteran. I know Garrett Bedber is a veteran or a veteran center. Excuse me. But it's still a new offense. You have an early round draft pick on your left side. You'd want someone who's really kind of stable at that left guard to kind of center those things. It's kind of a precarious position with the offensive line. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that at least initially they'll probably go with the veteran, someone like Cole Strange, because he's been there. Not that he's played in a McDaniels offense, but he's been there.
But not to interrupt you, but we have talked about this before, where Vrabel prefers bigger offensive linemen, and Strange is kind of more lean for an offensive lineman.
Right. But again, we'll have to see, the type of offense they want to run. But at the same time, you have a rookie left tackle, and that's why I'm thinking at least initially they'll go with the veteran. But, again, training camp and preseason, they're going to drive this train, especially at that left guard, because I don't think there's any doubt that, Will Campbell's going to be your starting left tackle. There's not going to be any doubt that Michael Onwenu and, Moses on the right side,
Yep.
They're going to be your starting duo over there. So, it all comes down to this. It's, again, Doug Marrone will have a huge factor in this. And I'm sure him and Josh McDaniels will be joined at the hip because they want the right person there. And you need that right person there if you want your offense to take that next step back toward respectability. And, I look back at how Josh ran a couple of years ago with Mac Jones as a rookie coming in. And, the Patriots offense was really good that year. They were sixth in the league in scoring. So I think they're more than capable of taking that step. But I think at first, I think you're going to start with a vet. I do. I mean, could Layden Robinson become that guy? Sure. I guess we shall see as soon as they start putting the pads on and you're seeing those one-on-one battles, because I think that's going to be really important.
Well, I want to jump off something that you just said, and then we'll go to defensive lineman, and we'll switch to the defense here. But with Mac, Josh McDaniels was very protective of the situations he was putting him in. Didn't throw into the end zone, had very specific play calls. And Mike, I want to get your take on this too. Okay. Do you think he's going to have the same thing with Drake? Because
No.
I think, and this is going to sound like it's a shot at Mac, and it's not. This has nothing to do with Mac. It's Drake he physically has more skills and traits, that he's a better thrower and he has a bigger arm. So I wonder if maybe Josh might be protective at first, but I don't think he's going to be the entire season. I think that he will kind of let the leash off a little bit, so to speak. Do you feel like that too?
Nah, I don't think so, because he had his rookie season with, as we all know, very uh, questionable people surrounding him at
Correct.
offensive line and some of his skill position people. So he's been through that. I think it'll all depend on how quickly they gel. But look, they're going to want to run the football because everything stems from that. If you can run the football, it opens up so many more avenues for you to attack the opposing team, and that's a big thing. I mean, we saw it with the Patriots defense.
I think you're gonna see friggin' 2 running back sets a lot in this offense.
Yeah, I mean,
I see Ramondre or Gibson and Henderson flanking Drake in like a pistol kind of format, and I see them running like little routes, little in cuts, little flat routes. I think they're gonna just run the shit out of that. Sorry, Miguel, but
well,
that's what
and
I really
again,
feel
I
like.
mean, look, there's a huge difference between what the Patriots were facing so much last year, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3, like the Patriots defense was facing. And that comes from the running game. So I think initially they want to run the football, and they have the guys to do it. But I don't think he's going to put a lot of limits on Drake May. I don't see that. I think he's going to give him a lot of leash in this season.
Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with both of you. I think right now, when you look at the types of style of quarterback that both of these guys played, meaning Drake May and Mac Jones, and again, I'm not knocking Mac here. It does sound like we are, like we're taking shots at him, but I assure you I'm
No,
not. Mac Jones was the type of quarterback where you needed to manage him a little bit, make sure that he was in the right environment for him to succeed. And once that happened, Mac would start making things happen because he would feel comfortable. There would be a comfort level there where he'd be like, okay, I'm in the driver's seat right now. I'm protected. So, this allows me to be able to now play my game and hit my targets. And that's why you saw Mac have success under Josh McDaniels in his first season. Drake May is someone that embraces the chaos a little bit more. He embraces the certainty a little bit more. He takes it as a challenge. That's part of his comfort zone. He loves going off script. He'd like to stay on the straight and narrow and just, gun it down the field according to script and make things happen. But when he's got to go off script a little bit, something comes out of Drake. There's another level that he's capable of going to, whereas that wasn't really Mac Jones's strength. He was more, in the protection vibe to try to give himself a chance to make things happen. So because of that, yeah, I don't see Josh putting as much restriction on Drake May this season, because I think that in order to really give him the opportunity to play his game at the top of his game, you need to take that leash off a little bit. You need to let the big dog walk out there and prove that he's capable of hanging with some of the league's big dogs. That, to me, is why I think you're going to see a lot more freedom in Drake May this year than you saw with Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, I think it's a
And Mac
great point.
Jones.
Yeah, no, great point. Guys, I have to, I don't have to like rush, I would say, but we spent 38 minutes talking about the offense, so we have to do considerably less on the defense because I have to get going and in about 20 minutes. So I want to focus on the defensive line and front seven in general. Curious to see and hear your guys' thoughts on Vrabel's new defense. Obviously, we have Barmore, Milton Williams in the middle. Really exciting. I think there's some hype building up around Keon White too on the side with Harold Landry on the other one. Kind of curious about Robert Spillane. I am convinced anyone who's listening to the show right now you are going to fall in love with Robert Spillane, I promise you, within the first game. So we'll get to that later, but that's fine. Defensively, I think the safety conversation is kind of interesting. The cornerback, I feel like we have a decent idea about that. That's probably one of the more I would say dialed in groups on the defense. But Steve, if we go to the defensive line, I mean, it's going to be kind of weird to see a totally different Patriots lineup. I feel like it's going to be 2011-esque, where you had Andre Carter and all those guys kind of penetrating up front a little bit more. I think you're going to see these defensive linemen. I think Keon White could have a huge year if he's bought in.
Yeah, that seems to be the prevailing thought right now, right? And look, it's going to seem so different because the Patriots for the past 25 years have been a two-gapping system.
Two gap, yep.
Yeah. They're not going to be that this year. And, there's been some questions. Well, the defensive linemen are a little on the light side. Can they stop the run? Well, you're able to stop the run when you have quick, penetrating, aggressive style, with your defensive line, because they're not going to, two gap. They're going to be attacking. And I think Barmore and Williams in the middle, I think they're going to be beasts, disrupting things, because they're going to be getting into the backfield, penetrating.
I think they're going to have a lot of chance for a lot of picks this year. Like I really do, just based on the penetrating style of the defense they want to play and the aggressive styles they have.
Quarterbacks aren't going to have 6 seconds to throw the football.
Mm-hmm.
You have an improved defensive line. Look, last year, and you look at the middle, right? They lost Barmore, okay, early in the season to the blood clots. You lost Juwan Bentley in the second, I think it was the second game of this season. And then, you have Kyle Duggar with an injury that lingered all through the year, required off-season surgery. And then to top it off, Jabril Peppers had that off-field stuff that he was gone. That's the middle of your defense. That's where teams were running the football. This year,
which I would say, and I don't know if you feel this way, but I would say that Belichick always kind of funneled things through the middle. Like that was like his thing. So when you lose all those pieces, it just kind of a knife to the chest.
But this year, the middle of that defense, okay, you have not only you get a healthy Barmore back who looks really prime.
Yep.
To take that next step, you bring in Milton Williams, you have Robert Spillane, and then you have 2 healthy, strong safeties back. I mean, this is going to look a lot different. So I don't think teams are going to be able to run on them. And, with Harold Landry, Keon White, who seems to be a perfect fit for Vrabel's type style, they're going to get after the passer. Plus, they brought in Chase on, Braden Swinson. This pass rush is going to be a lot different. And now, the secondary isn't going to have to cover for so long. And quarterbacks are going to be forced to throw the football a little faster than they were last year. And that's where, you get interceptions coming in.
Steve, I have a pop quiz for you here in a second, but I'm going to go to Mike first. I'm going to throw a curveball at him first because this is what I love to do, make people uncomfortable. Mike, Marte Mapu, is he going to be considered a linebacker this year? Because in Vrabel's defense, or I guess I should say the defenses that he traditionally runs, he would be considered a linebacker in there. Would you consider him in that position, or would you consider him a safety still?
No, I would consider him a linebacker, and I actually considered him a linebacker from the time that he was drafted. I mean,
He should have been,
me
but
and
that's a different conversation.
yeah,
Don't get me
so I mean,
angry.
that is a different conversation. I definitely understand where you're coming from there. But in a Vrabel defense, in this more aggressive style that you're expected to see them run under Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams, who are on the same page in
Do you
terms of
think he's going
what
to make the
type.
team?
I have him making the team right now. And the reason why I have him making the team is because of his athleticism, his ability to hit, and his understanding of the playbook. This is a kid that you can throw an awful lot at and is a very cerebral defender. I know Bill Belichick absolutely loved this kid when he was drafted and praised him ad nauseum about being one of the smartest young players that he had ever coached. And him being involved in a play calling strategy as a rookie and actually being in the environment where you're seeing him in the mix with guys that are calling plays, to me spelled an awful lot when it came to Marte. He hasn't quite lived up to his expectations on the field, and there have been reasons for that. One, I think he's been playing out of position, and two, I think there have been injury questions and things of that nature that have prevented him from being able to live up to what we all believe. But this is a kid that can play various spots on the defensive side of the ball. He can play a linebacker. I think that's where he's going to be practiced most prominently during this training camp session. But he can play safety. He's played an off the ball role. He's played the deep safety spot. Versatility like that is very difficult to come by. And if you're looking for a Swiss Army knife type player on defense, I think Marte Mapu could definitely assimilate nicely. And that athleticism is difficult to replicate in a lot of players. So if you're looking for that younger, speedier type of linebacker, yeah, I think he's got a shot to make it. I think he will make it.
Okay. I'm going to ask you both a question right now. Do you think Kyle Duggar is going to make this team? And I know that's a weird pivot from where we just were, but there's a reason I'm asking you this, because I keep looking at the defensive backfield. I'm looking at the defensive line. I see the linebackers. I agree with you, Mike, on Marte Mapu. Peppers is he's the cheese that stands alone in terms of the captains. I look at the quarterback room. I see the safety room. I don't know if Kyle Duggar makes this team. And I'm not sure. I'm sure Miguel, if he's listening to the show, I'm sure he can let me know what the cap hit is. But to me, I might see Kyle Duggar as like, there's always a surprise cut, right? And it's a new regime. Even though Elliot Wolf and everybody else is there, like, it's still Mike Vrabel's team. So what is the difference? And to me, I have a hard time seeing Kyle Duggar make this team. Certainly more than 1 year. Steve, what do you think about this? Because I keep running through the defensive backfield, and I'm like, there's got to be someone that's different. And I feel like Duggar is going to be the one who's going to be hit the guillotine.
Well, I mean, it's always a possibility. Right now, I have him making the football team, but you know, safety is absolutely loaded this year.
Yep.
Um,
I mean, Pettis had a good year. Hawkins is
yeah,
pretty
I
widely
mean,
talked about.
and don't forget
Craig
their fourth round
Woodson.
draft pick, who everyone panned, and the kid is really smart. What's it? Craig Woodson.
I spoke to somebody the other day on the team who literally told me that he is opening eyes. That was the phrase. Opening
Yeah,
eyes.
and he can play free safety.
Yep.
Because they have a lot, and to goes back to your question. Will Duggar make the team? They have so many good, strong safeties. Is it a possibility that they trade Duggar? Because I don't think they'd cut him.
No, it probably one of those things where they say they're going to do it, and then they trade him for like a late round draft pick or something just to get rid of the money, And it's not against Duggar. I just don't know if it's fits. It's a log jam, Steve. It's a log jam right now.
Right,
With that whole
like I said, they're absolutely loaded at safety. So, could that happen? They don't really need to dump his salary because they're in a good position this year. Could that happen in a year or so? Absolutely. But I just don't think
But
it
I
happens.
know for a fact they want to keep that they're trying to keep that salary free because they can roll it over to next year, so they can go ahead and have a little more movement. And with we talk about Mapu moving back and forth. Peppers is the kind of guy that you can move back and forth. Woodson's the kind of guy that you can leave back. So it's like, to me, it's like, where's room for Duggar? You know what I mean? So if they can dump him, and not that he's not a good player. I'm not saying that he's not a good player, but like, you know what I mean? Like if they can dump him to a different team, I think that option's on the table for sure.
That's possible. I think it's entirely possible. Sure.
Mike,
You
what do you
know,
think?
Conventional wisdom would tell you want to hang on to a guy like Kyle Duggar. Obviously, he is very good. He's got all the tools to match up with his, opposing, offensive weapons in coverage. Good tackler. He can make stops in key situations. We've seen him do it over and over again. I talked about cerebral players earlier. Kyle Duggar is at the top of that list in terms of guys that know where players need to be at every given moment, at every possible time on the field. So you look at someone like that and you say, well, why would you want to rid yourself of someone of that nature? Well, Derek and Steve, I think you guys have made the actual case to do it. You've got guys on this roster right now that are more than capable of filling that role, filling those roles at maybe even a fraction of the cost in some situations. So do the Patriots outweigh the good that Kyle Duggar is going to bring to this team and say, well, you know what? We need to stay fluid in terms of the cap. We need to keep as much available. We all saw, the types of, numbers that Sauce Gardner got yesterday from the New York Jets. The New England Patriots will need to either match or eclipse that next season when they have these discussions with Christian Gonzalez. You want to make sure. Absolutely. So you want to make sure that you're maximizing your bottom line to make it work for you. If they can get out and under, and Miguel again can, I think, give us a great breakdown on what the cap implications will be here for the Patriots. If you can get similar production on the field with paying a fraction of the cost, what could be more Belichickian than that in honoring his predecessor into doing that? So at this point, yeah, I think Duggar not being on this roster either long term or maybe even as soon as the end of training camp is a possibility. Whether it's likely or not, I think maybe a discussion for another day. We can go on and on about how likely it would be, but is it possible he's not there? Absolutely, it's possible for all the reasons you guys have mentioned.
I think receiver, because of the quantity of guys that are around. I think left guard and I think safety are probably, I mean, I don't know if you guys disagree, agree. I think those three positions are honestly the most curious for me going into training camp because I feel like there's just so many, there's only so many guys you can keep on receiver. Safety, it depends on what Vrabel kind of wants for his defense and his philosophy. And left guard is just really just like kind of survival of the fittest. Like who's going to be there, So like to me, those are the three positions that I'm most curious going into camp. Steve, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, wide receiver is obviously going to be one that we're all watching really closely because they have so many bodies there,
Right.
and we're curious who's going to step up, who they feel fits, for their long and short term. So we'll have to see with that. I think left guard, obviously, because there's no clear answer, at least, looking from the outside in. Maybe they already have a plan in place for that. Safety is, to me, a little bit different because they're so loaded there. It might just become a numbers game, and they have probably six NFL safeties.
Well, Steve, real quick. So, how many defensive backs do they normally carry year to year? Isn't it like around 10?
About 10, and I think this
Okay.
year you could easily see 12.
That's what I'm saying. I 100%. So it's like, okay, so it's going to be Gonzalez, Davis, Marcus Jones. Okay, there's three. corners, right? Let's see who else for corners. I think Alex Austin has a good chance of making the team.
Absolutely.
I'd be in that
Isaiah
conversation.
Bolden or Marcus Dial.
I think one of them will make it. The other one will not. Is that fair? So
I think that's fair.
Okay. So then you got safeties. You got Peppers, Duggar, Woodson. Unless there's a trade, those three are locks. They're not cutting them. Like it's about. I think those three are pretty much locks. I think Pettis had a really good year last year.
He did.
So but it's a different regime. So it's hard. So then you're going all of a sudden now we're at 8 or 9, and now we're trying to work in 12. I think I have a hard time seeing less than 12 defensive backs. And I'm not counting Brendan Schooler in this, by the way.
Right.
To me, Schooler is a special teamer. You have a kicker, you have a punter, you have a long snapper, you have your core special teamer. Brendan Schooler is the core special teamer.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Everyone else can have their own.
Yeah. And Marcus Epps is a wild card in all this as well, because you bring him in from the Raiders. I mean, is this, to push bodies during camp, or is there something there? He's coming off a serious injury, but
Mike,
when
I
he's
mean,
on,
what is your take on like just asking you like what is your take on him making the roster? Like what's your percentage? Because to me, I don't put him as much of a lock as I say Spillane or Gibbons. Like Spillane.
Oh, I don't think Epps is a lock. Yeah, I don't think I don't think Epps is a lock by any stretch.
I don't think so at all. I think he's going to be fighting it out with Hawkins and Pettis.
Absolutely, but I mean, you look at
but he's a free safety, so
it is a little bit different. But it depends how they feel about Craig Woodson, though. Steve.
Oh well, I think they like Woodson. I don't think there's any doubt.
I think
Woodson
they said
honest.
Pretty much during the draft how they feel about Woodson. So
we don't know, if Epps is even going to be,
healthy.
ready to.
Yeah, how does he look coming off the injury? I mean, that really, to me, is we haven't had a look at him yet. It's going to be interesting to see. Does he start training camp on PUP? Does he come in? Is he ready to go? By all indications, we're hearing that he should be.
Every single person they signed, Mike, this offseason had a connection to a coach that is on the roster right now. Somewhere on the coaching staff, there was a connection. Aside from Milton Williams, literally every single person. And Epps was connected, but I don't know. I look at the safety position and I look at his injury and I have a hard time buying into him making the team. Right now, July 16th, right now. We'll see what happens in a couple weeks, but I have a hard time believing it right now. Guys, final thoughts for the roster. Mike, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts on kind of the roster and as we head into training camp?
Yeah, I think everything that we've covered about the roster today are pretty much the big questions on everybody's mind. And as I go back through now and I take a look at the roster, there are several players that I think deserved maybe a second or third sharp eye on, who maybe I missed the first time around. You've mentioned Pettis a couple of times. I've come around on Dell. I think he had a tremendous year last year. This is a kid that can only get better and I think serves a very strong purpose in this type of aggressive defense that the Patriots are going to run. So I've come around on Dell being kind of the odd man out. I think he's in the mix right now. I would probably lean toward him making the roster. The other one I want to give a tip of the cap to is not a younger player, but a veteran and a guy I mentioned earlier in Vidarian Lowe coming in and being a solid tackle option as a reserve this time around. Yeah, I think the Patriots are going to be hard-pressed to pass on him because of the experience that they need in that area. I also caution Patriots fans to keep a sharp eye on the tight end depth chart and keep a sharp eye on C.J. Dupree. Dupree is someone I know they would love to be able to kind of play with during training camp and bring back on the practice squad and then elevate him. I'm not sure he makes it to New England. This was a very sought-after player from a very high-profile college program in Alabama. He may prove to be the blocker the Patriots need in a McDaniels offense. If he is, they may have to use a roster spot to put him on. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this team during camp over the course of the next few weeks.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna make some phone calls to make sure that you get a CJ Dupree jersey by the by the end of the season. But I agree with you, Steve. What are your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm looking at the defense, and I'm thinking this defense is going to be so much fun to watch this
Yep.
year. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to come after people, and it's like if you lose because you went all out and they just beat you, I can live with that. When you're rebuilding a team, but I can't stand when they sit back. And we've been harping on this for a decade and a half, right? I mean, we've been doing this 15 years. I'm just really looking forward to watching this defense, go to town this year.
Absolutely. No, I'm really excited. I'm excited to see. I feel like what I'm most excited about from a fan perspective, I'm most excited about seeing how Vrabel institutes his program really in kind of full blow when they're at practice and doing everything. Different style defense would be kind of a learning experience for us because we've been kind of accustomed to a certain thing for a while now. And then also going ahead and learning how Josh McDaniels works with Drake May. I feel like that's going to be really exciting as well. So that's very fun. Mike, why don't you take us out? I just want to go ahead and say thank you to everyone who's listening to Patriots No Huddle. Please do like, share, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you leave us a review, it keeps us high in those rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. Mike, take us out, man.
Absolutely. As my good friend and esteemed colleague Derek Havens said, thank you all for taking time out of your schedule to join us here on Patriots No Huddle. Whether you're listening to us live or you're listening to the replay, we always appreciate each and every ounce of support we receive from all of you out there in Patriots Nation that continue to make Patriots No Huddle a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. On behalf of my Patriots paisan, Steve Balistrieri, my good friend and colleague Derek Havens, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change that you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here again next time on Patriots No Huddle.